Good morning everybody, how are you doing? Well, today I'm setting off from Nagahama and I'm going to Matsue, which is in Shimane Prefecture, which is again a fair old way. So it's about 7:45 here. It's not as long a day as yesterday, thankfully. And as hopefully you've seen from some of the pictures of me having a little bit of a walk around Nagahama earlier on, it's quite sunny at the moment, but that is meant to change sadly again. So today's journey, let me just get the old map out again. So just down here, so I'm here at Nagahama, which hopefully you can see there, and then basically I'm going to be heading up in this sort of direction towards Obama. Yes, I'm going to go and meet him, and then down to, I think it's Maizuru, which is here, and then I might go along the coast this way, and then basically all the way down to Totori, and then eventually Yonago, and finally Matsue, which is all the way down here. So just as a refresher, that means that I have travelled from Miyako, which is up here, all the way across, all the way down to Niigata, all the way down, deeper and down to Nagahama, okay, and then from here we're going to go all the way across to Matsue. So we've travelled much of the length of Honshu in about 3 days. Well, we'll have anyway. If I don't stop rabbiting, we won't actually get there. So I'm going to go and pay the parking and hit the road. I don't think we're going to see much blossom. I think we might do when we get a little bit closer to Matsue. But yeah, it's definitely later this year than last year. Anyway, that's about enough of me waffling. I'll see you soon. Presumably Nagahama Castle. Another day. That, by the way, is Lake Biwa, the biggest inland lake in Japan. If I had a penny for each time I rewrote this monologue script, I'd be quite rich by now. As I noted in my last video, I want to sequence the monologues in the most logical way, like building up from the foundations. The reality is, though, that most of the things that I've come to realise in my 2.5 years in Japan didn't really happen one after the other. It took time for the picture to clear, and it's still clearing, and the mist still rolls in from time to time. Purpose in life is something that, for me, strikes pretty much the core. I often wonder if it's easier for some people in life, but I've always found it so difficult to settle for less than what I feel I love doing in life. Maybe the biggest hint of that was giving up everything I spent the last 20 years working towards and moving to Japan. My relative freedom is essential to me. If I don't feel like my work-life balance permits me the right level of freedom, I get itchy feet. Worse still, I start to come apart at the seams, and I have no way of containing it. Most of the time we exchange our liberty in return for money through work, and when we want more money, we more often than not give a bit more of our liberty in return for it. That doesn't work for me. I know that not being able to do my own thing within a balance that I feel is fair makes me unhappy. Replacing that lost liberty with money, even in a job I love, doesn't change the fact. For me, purpose has been a tough lesson, and one I think I am still learning. Not so long ago, I worked as a wedding photographer and did so for nearly 10 years. Originally, I started doing wedding photography to be able to quit my day job, which had nothing to do with photography, and I had very little interest in that day job as well. So by being able to give up the day job, I would then have more free time to pursue my other interests in photography around the paying photography work. A fine idea, but in many ways I was already admitting myself to be the poor poet in the garret. In other words, I'll do this now to earn enough money to one day execute my dreams, but the latter would only happen at the point in which my life where I'd be getting old. And this doesn't even begin to take account that this kind of ambition-driven purpose rather removes the joy in life or prevents joy from happening. It all becomes about work, making a name for yourself, doing something to be good at it, doing it to be successful, and when your days fail to meet expectations, life begins to become dark. By putting the emphasis on earning money first through wedding photography in my case, and then executing my lifestyle rather than just doing what I loved and shaping my life around what I felt naturally drawn to, is often doomed to fail. Something will give, and it will be in ourselves physically and mentally. I just couldn't give up the safety net of what was a relatively well-paid but ultimately unrewarding career path. This totally ruined my work-life balance, as I near enough worked 7-day weeks for about 8 years during spring and summer into early autumn, and by 2018 was entirely exhausted. This is when I resigned myself to winding down the wedding photography. As much as I did enjoy it, it was way too stressful. Where did doing something just because I'm naturally drawn to do it and do it just for the fun of it go? As I said last time, it was discovering skateboarding that taught me some very well-timed lessons about life. Watch the last video where I explain why and what it taught me. I think the problem was that I had confused purpose with ambition and trying to find absolute final answers about life. That kind of ambition had been clouded, if not tainted, by the necessity of money, now that I was doing all the things that everybody told me I should be doing, namely buying a property, a new car, and other things. This may sound stupid, like how stupid can you be to buy a flat when somebody tells you to? But it's not quite like that. It's more like the received wisdom of the people around you being repeatedly pointed towards you, and you begin to believe that to move on in life, these are the things to reach for. Really, these two things are not the point. The point is, again, I was only being given a very narrow vision of how to live a life. For me, I didn't want to be someone talking about their property value. I wanted to be somebody recounting the first time they pulled off a front side air, or how sweet it was to kick ass in Chrono Trigger, or take a look at some sick picture I drew, or tell a story about an impromptu day trip to Iwate Prefecture, and how I felt so chilled out watching a farmer working away as I drank some barley tea. Stuff that's dust in the wind, essentially, but full of life experience for me, and ones I hope I can share with others. Slowly but surely I find my purpose in life is just to live it, extract as much out of life as I can whilst I can, rather than spend my entire life worrying about how I will be secure in old age, and the need to find answers in a world that rarely has any. I didn't want to get to a point in my life where I realised I hadn't taken advantage of my health and youth whilst I had it, and lived my life to the best that I could. As I said in the last video, no matter how much money you have, you'll probably always worry about it. Your possessions will instead possess you, and smother the life that was just begging to flow out of you, as everything about society and the system had funneled you down a very narrow path for school, then work, and finally retirement. And all of this deadens the imagination. What other way is there in life? I think we often seek blinding revelations or even answers in life, or something so different and astounding that we probably don't realise that it's already within us. What do we like, and what do we want to do? If we just do it, to borrow a phrase, and experiment with new things, we find that our purpose in life is within us. We just need to nurture it and take decisions. Be ready to take decisions that we are drawn to, that we know will be risky, by received wisdom. Moving to Japan was not a decision taken out of fear for me, but one taken out of hope. I had no idea whether it would work out, but I had to try. I don't think it worked out quite the way I expected it to. I think I seriously underestimated the challenge, and the feel of it is so different to what I thought I'd feel. The first year for me was a lonely hell, and the job had quite a few rough edges about it. But something told me to stick at it, and things rapidly changed within the second year. Practical things such as continuing to study Japanese began to bear fruit, which then led to opportunities arising, like being able to listen to anime and being able to understand little bits of it, or reading manga, which again I began to understand a little of, being able to be more helpful in class and build more of a rapport with the students as well as my teachers, and then feeling like I can take a trip and then be able to interact with people, or take a skateboarding lesson, and whilst I didn't understand the instructions perfectly, I understood enough and gained confidence that I could do things. In a way, it was like being a child again, where I didn't know how to do things, but I didn't have an adult to hold my hand a lot of the time, and I just had to try and keep on overcoming fear. I think we're all different, and I'm sure some of the things I built up in my mind may seem ridiculous to some, but they're all barriers that stop me from living my life freely. By facing up to the fear of addressing them in my lifestyle improved immeasurably. In a way, this was addressed in the movie Groundhog Day. At first, Bill Murray's character Phil Connors tries to fill the void of living the same day over and over by taking advantage, but there was no satisfaction to be found in that. It was only when he realised that he had to grow as a person by just living life, and once he had learned how to live a life, he was free from living the same day over and over. We have to accept there are precious few answers in life, or that purpose in itself is an answer. Instead, we just need to live, do things, take risks, take a road trip even though your bank balance is low, take up a sport even though we may get hurt, try learning a new skill for no purpose other than you may enjoy it, go to an evening school and do something that you may feel you're too tired to do after work, but do it nonetheless. I did that with Japanese in September 2018. This was a year before I even decided to apply for jobs in Japan, and at the time I wondered about whether I could afford the course, if I'd have the time, how difficult it would be, and then I just picked up the phone and booked myself on the course without thinking much more about it. That was my first foray into learning Japanese, and yes, it was hard and continues to be so, and yes, I was also tired after work going into evening school, and the money was tight doing it as well. But by the end of it, I had learned new skills. I'd learned how to read hiragana, and I could have the most basic of conversations. This in turn gave me enough confidence the following year to apply for jobs in Japan, and we all know how that worked out. I'm still here. In essence, purpose is not goals or destinations. True purpose is just living life in my book. It's about saying to yourself, I can decide right now to spend the rest of my life every morning sat in my car, on the train, on the bus, wherever, looking out of the window, yearning for something else. Or I can change that right now by taking risks and trying something new, or embracing what we know is our life energy. Or through risk-taking, discover something you never knew that was within you. Art is the former for me, skateboarding is the latter. I think there is a very adult perception that your likes and dislikes and actions as a child are all that there are to you, and that as adults we stop changing or stop growing. Nothing is further from the truth. Try something new that you're drawn to. No pressure, no expectations. Just try, and you never know. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. If it bears fruit, what a new world you've opened up to yourself. I knew I had to return to drawing art, because that's who I am. Always have been. I had to practice a ton to improve, not to become good, but to equivocate the ideas within me adequately, to tell the stories that I had, the ones that I see in my mind, the ones that I feel, and the ones that I hear. This is what I feel the deepest of all. It's the natural urge I have always had within me. It is there, and there is nothing I can do about it, and suppressing it only makes me sad. Water flows. It can't help but flow. It does it without effort or deviation. It has a purpose that it does unconsciously. In essence, it is purposeless because it is just being and letting its nature take course. This is the true nature of purpose in my book, to make it so transparent that as you begin to live your life, that the idea of purpose disappears because all that you are, you are. In reality, we compromise. I still have a full-time job, but the hours are such that I can work around that and do what flows for me without the need to be pushed, and within what I do in my job, I can be myself, a cheeky, annoying, animated person that makes the children laugh and giggle. I earn under half of what I used to, but money cannot be exchanged in my book for my freedom and liberty. If I can just be myself, then I don't need answers in life. I just need to keep on living. When you accept fear in your life because it is an essential part of life and begin to see that you can overcome fears, you begin to trust yourself and you'll continue leaping. When I skate, I know I will sometimes fall, but I trust that I can get up again, get on the board and try again until I do succeed. And when I do, the feeling is like nothing else I know in life, and my life has expanded. Sometimes I get up and my hand bleeds, but I will still get up and try that trick one more time, and if I land it, I will see the sacrifice is worth the experience. If you stop looking for answers and start doing, you will discover your way that flows from you effortlessly. Life will be rich and self-fueling, and all your worries about purpose will fade as you learn how to live a life. So this route is proving just to be beautiful. This is one of the reasons why I still use an old road map, because with Google Maps I can work out whether the detours are going to be doable in the time available. But also I see routes that Google just would never offer up to me, such as this. I mean, just wow. So this is the coast of Hyogo. I'm just taking prefectural route 11. What stunning views. I better keep going because Matsue is still quite a way away. Probably about 3 to 4 hours. Something like that.
Palace from the Arabian Nights, wide waves on an ocean, gems from a golden age. Life in your new world, turning round and round, making some sense where there's no sense at all. The seasons in these days of a golden age. Life in your new world, turning round and round, making some sense where there's no sense at all. Give you more than just the shape of things. Break every word, begin it all again. Your name on a white sheet, purely shot with passion. But as love lies bleeding in your hand, heaven sends you no promise.
Well, even though I have a long way to drive, still, I do like to stop at these Michinoekis, which is like road stations. Let me just turn the car over a moment and then you can see it. There you go. There's a railway bridge up there. I haven't been driving up there. Yeah, it's just nice to try something of the local area. So when I'm driving, I don't like big meals. It just makes me sleepy. So I just like little snacks as I go along. So I'm just going to wolf this down and see how much further I've got to go. I'm guessing around about 3 hours. So hopefully get to Matsue around about 6 p.m. That would be great. So anyway, yeah, grim old day again. The weather is nothing like it was last year. Such a shame, but I'm away for a good while, so it can all change. So I'm not going to it, but on the left is one of Iwate Prefecture's most famed or revered manga artists museum, Gosho Aoyama. He's the author of the very popular Conan series published by Shonen Sunday. I've read a little bit of it, it's okay, but I have one of my students at one of my, well actually that's a good point. I used to have a student, because I'm no longer going back to that school sadly, for the next academic year, who is absolutely crazy about Conan. I did briefly think about, oh, maybe I should pop in and see if I can get her a small gift, but regardless of the fact that I'm not going back to that school, it's really bad to buy a gift for just one student. If you give somebody, you've got to give a gift to everybody, which makes a lot of sense, really. But yeah, there you go. Well, I've made it to Yonago, in fact just outside of, just into Shimane Prefecture now, so last leg to Matsue, almost there, but it's still raining and I stopped to get another coffee because I'm getting a bit weary now, so, but it's all going quite well today. Should be there by about 6 o'clock or so. Gonna pop into a shop just to have a little look around before I check into the guest house, so hopefully it'll be all settled by about 7 o'clock I guess, so all good stuff. Anyway, let's press on.